So I started rereading Jujutsu Kaisen, which is funny because I started this channel with JJK. I feel like the first time I'm reading through a story, I just want to read the story for what it is. I don't want to focus on any extra nuance or any references or themes. Even when I pick up on them, I just want to see what the mangaka intended. And I thought for what it was, JJK was okay, it was good. The ending felt a little rushed, but I can talk about that in a different video. So without nuance, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. However, after doing so many videos about the Buddhist themes in Bleach, I realized that I'm missing out on a deeper layer in JJK, which has allowed me to kind of see the story in a different way. 2 chapters in, and I already see what Kubo was talking about in his interview with Gege. I love incorporating Buddhist concepts as well, so I was pleasantly surprised to find someone else covering obscure topics like death paintings. If you recall those rings that appear when Tozen used his Bunkai, they actually had the names of the 9 types of death paintings written on them. Also, before we get too far, thank you. 3,000 subscribers, that's amazing. I am truly thankful. All I do is create content. There's no guarantee that someone's gonna show up, spend time, and actually make an investment, leave a comment, like, and do anything that you guys do that actually makes my day. It's really, really cool. I love making these videos. I love taking time just to express my thoughts on the various things that I'm reading, and seeing that people show up and actually enjoy, whether they agree or disagree with some of the points that I put out, the content that I'm making. I couldn't ask for anything else. And if you're new to my channel, I am Zaku Zealot. I cover manga, I talk about anime. There will be some surprises along the way as the channel grows. Subscribe, turn on alerts. I promise you're in the right spot. Thank you. I like to look at Yuji as a deconstruction of Ichigo. They are both affected by death. However, I believe what sets them apart is how their grief is processed through how they understand themselves.
I'll be right back! Where are you going? No! Ichigo! Stop!
If you think about Ichigo, before he decided to take Rukia's blade in exchange for power to save his family, Ichigo knew to an extent who he wanted to be since a child. His entire world was built on protecting his mother, Misaki. When he lost her to the Grand Fisher, it broke something in him, but it didn't change his core foundation. Ichigo always had belief in himself. Even when he did not understand his powers, and when those powers were restricted, he ran straight toward a girl he had mistaken for a hollow. He was him before he even knew his full potential. It's my opinion, when you think about what drives Ichigo, he doesn't really fear fear, he fears uncertainty, which is expressed through his poem at the start of Volume 1. We fear that which we cannot see. He ran after a small girl. A hollow killed his mother. What an escalation of events. Ichigo's father is a doctor. He's surrounded by sickness and death. So in a world where death is a guarantee, what can you do? Ichigo doesn't actually change as he gets older, he just commits to becoming better. He wants to shape the world around him so the people he cares about can live better. I can see spirits, I can touch them, I can exchange words with them, but that is all. They sometimes disappear like this. I don't know why they disappear, but sometimes all they leave behind are their stains of blood and a feeling similar to pain. No matter how much I train my body, I cannot protect them, and every time I think about that, my heart becomes similar to a blade. Ichigo is just special, and that's just not who Yuji is, but don't take that the wrong way. That's by design. Gege didn't want Yuji to be Ichigo. He was inspired by Kubo, but he didn't want to copy Kubo, because quite frankly, he felt like he couldn't do it. Gege stated, I consider folks like Kubo-sensei and Chainsaw Man's Tatsuki Fujimoto-sensei to have strong identities. It'd be unwise for commoners like me to carelessly imitate authors of their caliber. Since their creations are products of instincts and talents that come with having such strong identity, I only hurt myself if I tried to copy their methods. That level of respect and humility, it honestly just shines through Gege's writing, because Yuji becomes this unintended, beautiful deconstruction of Ichigo. It's honestly what makes JJK mandatory reading after Bleach, but I also believe Bleach should be mandatory reading if you've only ever read JJK.
You're a strong kid, so try to help others. Save the people you can, even if it's only those closest to you. It's okay if you lose your way, and don't worry about whether they'll thank you or not.
Unlike Ichigo, who we saw had resolve as a child to be a protector, Yuji had to find that outside of himself. He doesn't have a deep, lifelong drive to protect people until after his grandfather dies. Yuji is also told he is strong, but unlike Ichigo, he is told he should protect people from time to time. Yuji has to figure out who he is. He can't die the type of death his grandfather would want for him if he doesn't figure out how to live. Who is Yuji Itadori? He has no real sense of self just yet, so he is shaped entirely by what the world makes around him. His fear doesn't come from the uncertainty of what happens after you die. Yuji knows death. He's in the room with his grandfather right now. But where Yuji's fear comes from is the uncertainty of self and how to live. His grandfather in this scene, I believe, tried to do for Yuji what Ichigo didn't obtain until the blade is me.
It's about your parents, and I want you to
Come on,
understand.
I told you, I'm not interested. Grandpa, please. Could you stop trying to act all cool before you die?
Which was realizing who he truly was on the inside. His grandfather in his dying moments was trying to complete a journey for Yuji that he honestly just wasn't ready for. Yuji just denies him, which is denial of self versus the acceptance of self from Ichigo makes these stories perfect halves of each other, but also shows just how rooted in Buddhism they are. Enlightenment or nirvana, which requires completely seeing through the illusion of permanent self, letting go of attachments, and experiencing the interconnectedness and emptiness of all things. In Buddhism, there are 4 noble truths that act as a guide towards enlightenment. Ichigo and Yuji both having their realities changed through death is the initial recognition that life is suffering, the first noble truth. The second and third noble truths deal with the cause of suffering and the cure. We suffer because we cling to impermanent things, and the only way to end that suffering is to let go of those attachments and reach a state of total liberation. Ichigo operates exactly like the Buddha because his journey looks entirely inward to fix the cause of suffering. His only real flaw is a misaligned identity. He doesn't fully know where his powers come from or what he truly is. When Ichigo faces suffering, he doesn't look to the world to tell him what to do. He looks inside of himself. The light Ichigo puts out into the world is a light he cultivated entirely from within. By accepting his nature, embracing his grief, and understanding his blade, he clears away the ignorance causing his anxiety. He reaches his own version of nirvana by becoming exactly who he was always meant to be. Yuji does not have that internal light. Yuji is a bodhisattva, an individual who has the absolute potential to reach enlightenment, but chooses to stay trapped in the cycle of suffering to save others. Yuji denies himself or his own nirvana. By denying to listen to the truth of his parents, he willingly chooses ignorance regarding his own life while embracing the words of his grandfather about helping others. Yuji's internal identity is broken, in my opinion. So instead, he becomes a mirror for the environment around him. And look at the environment the story drops him into with Megumi and Gojo. He takes Megumi's personal virtue. He takes Gojo's world of endless life and death, and he just absorbs them completely. Yuji does not step forward out of the internal realization of himself like Ichigo does. Yuji steps forward because the environment around him just cast a light on him, and he just chose to reflect it back. He binds himself to the will of suffering because the people he watches, those are the people he has determined that needs his strength. They need him to hold the weight. The fourth noble truth is the path that leads away from suffering. It's the action plan. It's how you live your life once you realize what is causing you pain. For both Ichigo and Yuji, the path they walk is written directly into their names, and it dictates exactly how their journeys resolve. When you break down Ichigo Kurosaki, his name means to protect. His path is a straight line. Ichigo resolves his suffering by finding his own internal strength, accepting his mixed heritage, and using his blade to protect the way people live. Yuji walks a path that is a bit more agonizing, and his name tells you exactly why. The name Itadori uses the character for tiger. To me, this alludes to the latent strength Yuji has always had. The word Dori means walking stick or cane. The character Yu means persevere, and the character G represents benevolence, humanity, and compassion. Yuji was never written, in my opinion, to be this self-actualized conqueror like Ichigo. Yuji was literally designed from day one to be a support system for people, guiding them to a better death. Ichigo is the way. Yuji is the guide down the path that leads you to the way. A Buddha and a bodhisattva. JJK and Bleach together are perfect reflections of each other. They are perfect reflections of Buddhist themes and the Four Noble Truths about life. I have fallen in love with JJK all over again, and I think that's because this time I am reading for understanding versus reading to be a part of the hype. And now that I'm reading for understanding, I see it. This is a perfect complement to Bleach. It's suffering in the way that feels more human, because some of the things that Ichigo does, some of the conclusions that he comes to, some of the decisions that he makes just seem so baked into the fantasy setting of the world, versus JJK is a fantasy, but Yuji and some of the other cast members, they just feel like people pull from our own reality because the decisions that they're making align with our own reality. You can look forward to a ton of more content around JJK. I said it in my post, but Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays moving forward after this week is going to be where I focus a lot of my Bleach and JJK content. Sunday and Monday, I want to open those days up to not only explore topics within the anime and manga community, like the history of this or where did this come from, or breaking down other characters and analyzing other stories, but I also want to use that time period to just help my channel grow and reach audiences outside of Bleach and JJK. But I also hope a lot of you guys who follow me for Bleach and JJK stick around for that ride as well too. As the channel grows, maybe if we make it to that level, you guys will start seeing content every single day. But for right now, as I am a one-man crew, Tuesday and Wednesday, those are the days I have to lock in and get my edits done. I am done rambling. I just wanted to say once again, thank you for 3,000. And if you haven't by this point of the video, subscribe, turn on alerts, share a video, leave a comment, join the Discord. All the links are below. Follow me on TikTok. Do whatever you can to stay caught up with me, Zaku Zealot, and I'll do whatever I can to stay on your homepage by giving you consistent content. Thank you guys. Peace out.